So at this point in time, you should have done your test prep number 12. It was an EdSite. Should have turned in your solve and snip from Tuesday. And now you're watching this video on percent of change and error while filling in the foldable. So the foldable is like 3 or 4 different folds. You're going to fold up each section, copy down some word problems. Our I can statement is I can find the percent of change and I can find the percent of error. The first thing we're talking about is what the percent of change is. So when we talk about it, it's how much something has changed and what percent. So how much was the discount? How much did it increase by? What tip did you add? What was the tax? That type of thing. So in order to find it, what you do is you determine the amount of change by subtracting over the original amount, and then you can either move the decimal point or multiply by 100 to change your answer into a percent. We're going to have 2 different types of percent of change. First, we're going to have percent of increase. In order to do this, we do the new amount minus the original amount over the original amount, divide, multiply by 100, and that will give us our percent. So our example, which you're going to pause the video and copy down now, is Keela's clothing store buys coats for $50 and then sells them for $80. What is the percent of markup on the price of a coat? So we're going to plug it into our formula. So the new amount is 80. So we're going to do 80 minus 50 over the original amount, which is 50. And then we'll multiply by 100, which will change our answer into a percent. So we end up with 30 over 50 times 100. So when we finish this, we'll get 60%. So the percent markup of the coat was 60%. So we could say in a sentence, the coat was marked up 60%. That's how much it was increased by. Okay. Our second type of percent of change is percent of decrease. So we're still going to do this time, instead of subtracting the new amount from the original amount to avoid getting a negative answer, we do original amount minus this new amount, but still just how much it changed by, divided by the original amount, because we always do divided by the original amount, times 100. So that'll tell us what percent it went down by. So our example problem, which after I read it, you should pause and copy, is Caroline, an employee of Hollister, bought a sweater originally priced at $55 for $38.50 after her employee discount. What percent off is the employee discount? So the original amount was 55. So we're going to figure out 55 minus 38.50 over our original amount, which is 55. And then again, multiply by 100 so that we can change the decimal into a percent. You can also just move the decimal 2 spaces. So when we subtract 55 minus 38.50, we get 16.50 divided by 55 times 100. Is 30%. So then we can say the employee discount is 30%. So the only real difference between percent decrease and percent increase is the subtraction part. In decrease, you do original minus new. In increase, you do new minus original. You still both divide by the original amount. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about is percent error, so how much something was off by, like when we estimate, say, we're talking about temperature and the weather person estimates it's going to be 10 degrees outside, but it's really 15. There was a small amount of error. So it's similar to our percent of error is similar to our percent increase and decrease, except for the fact that in the top amount is our error and our bottom is our actual amount. So we're not trying to do original versus new. We're figuring out how much the error was, dividing it by the actual amount it was, multiplying by 100 to change it into a percent. So in this example, it says Jessie estimates the weight of her cat to be 10 pounds. The actual weight of the cat is 1375 pounds. Find the percent of error. So the amount of error, you would subtract them to figure out how much the error was. So we would still do 1375 minus 10 to get 375. So the amount of error is 3.75 because her cat actually weighs 3 pounds, 0.75 pounds more than she thought she did, over the actual amount, which is 1375, and then we're going to multiply that by 100. So we do 3.75 divided by 13.75 and get approximately 27%. We'll round. So find the percent error. So the percent error was 27%. So what you guys are going to do now is there's an activity. It's a wreath activity, so you're making like a wreath out of acorns. So you're going to do the problems on the little acorns, and then you're going to cut them out and connect them based on their answers. They should all go together to make a circle, and then you're going to glue them onto a separate sheet of paper. Okay, and then that's what you'll turn in with your name on it. Okay, when you're done with that, there's also a wiser.me that you can work on. If you don't finish either of those, they become tonight's homework.